Welcome, everyone. Happy Friday. I'm the Grace Strega, and I'm here to give you your daily collective read for today, Friday the 13th, December 13th, 2024. What do we have coming through in the cards for today? May I please have the first two cards in our 5-card spread for today? First two cards we are starting our day off with today are the Page of Cups in its upright and the Six of Pentacles in its reversal. It's one of these days. It's one of these days. It's gonna be a little back and forth today. It's gonna be like a little bit of this. It's gonna be a little bit of this back and forth. That's the best way I can describe it. Why are we seeing a little bit of this back and forth right now? This has a lot to do with working through, and we're going to talk about this because a lot of the work that we're seeing that's happening right now has to do with putting one's intentionality towards something and being letting go of the energetic outcome. Like it's a lot of that. It's a lot of that type of energy. And when we're facilitating forward in that way, it can feel frustrating. It can feel like, like there's something very anticipatory about it, right? And I see even now that facilitating forward and a lot of that work, it's giving a lot of that sense of having to kind of wait and see on things, right? It's giving that kind of sense of making, but what's beautiful, and this is I have to stress this is some of the gift that the retrogrades give us, right? Because when things are slow, not allowing the slowness of something to change one's own intentionality. I have to stress this right now. There's a lot of energy that is on the cusp of some significant breakthroughs right now. But what's hard, and I need to stress this, sometimes those moments, right before the breakthrough, it's like it feels like nothing's happening, right? It feels like absolutely still to a certain extent. And so working through that today, I see even now, that's a little bit of the frustration point. And I also see that this is having a different impact depending on where you find yourselves on the frequency cycles. Now, for masculine and feminine energy that is in separation, this is that wait and see that we're seeing here. Remember, because we were talking a lot yesterday about the fact that we see a lot of the energy in separation that is learning to trust again, right? And what's so difficult about healing trust is it feels counterintuitive, right? When you've had those wounds in the space of trust, it feels like madness to be able to trust again, right? It feels like you're moving in the direction of the thing that originally hurt you. But this is why we see, and there was so much of that lesson that was coming through yesterday, that ability of moving forward to a certain degree and not allowing the shadow of the past to cloud one's own intention. This is the energy that looks at those experiences that hurt them, looks at those modalities wherein they experience those wounds of trust that were created, and in the act of doing it again, look back upon those and say, you are not the rule. You are the exception to the rule. This is how we heal the bonds of trust. We look towards the things that damage them and say, that is not the expectation. That doesn't mean that you forget those energetic lessons, right? That doesn't mean that you let go of them entirely. You hold them, right? You hold them in a place of being able to see them with an open palm. That ability of looking upon them, letting them inform you and guide you, but at the same time, not allowing it to break one's own confidence and relationality in terms of what you're moving towards. And so we see that this is so important right now for so much of this energy that is in separation, because I see even now that for so much of that energy coming into separation, I can see the energy almost saying, what am I doing? Like this is the energy going, like that those anxieties, those fears, those old wounds that come up, because as we heal the wounds of trust, we're immediately triggered to return back to those moments that damaged them in the first place. So this is why we see that these are like connections that are moving towards one another, and they're recognizing the same feeling of trepidation, right? And that doesn't, and this is why the energy can tell the difference between trepidation and hesitation, because we see even now that a lot of that energy is holding space for another's emotions in the process, right? Well, for energy coming into divine union right now, that ability of having to articulate to another as you're moving deeper into divine union, the intentionality that you're bringing forth that connection in, right? There's a lot of this energy right now. The reason they're able to heal some of this turbulence that they're experiencing outside of partnership as they move deeper within it. This is the energy that articulates and brings forth a measure of sadness or compassion in relationality to how another feels, but only to a certain extent. It's the ability of saying, like when we move in tension, that sense or space of saying to someone, I'm sorry you feel that way. It was not my intention. This is the articulation of someone stating to another as they move deeper into connection, I'm sorry you feel that way. Like, I'm sorry that you have feelings in that direction. It was not my intention, meaning them saying that the intention that they have is moving deeper into union, right? So we see even now there's a lot of compassion that is being put forth in relationality to anything outside of partnership, wherein another is feeling or navigating those wounds, because we see even now that this is the energy saying that those wounds are not intentional, right? While for masculine and feminine energy right now moving deeper into divine union, a lot of this that we're seeing right now moving deeper into divine union, this feels like I want to say holding space for another's self-doubt, right? This is the gift that we give each other as healthy partners. Those moments or those circumstances where we doubt ourselves, the healthy counterpart, recognizing and identifying and helping us see our own intention, right? Like these are energies within divine union that navigate their own darkness, and their counterpart is their flashlight, but the flashlight is such that this is the energy that says, I see you even when you can't see yourself, right? And there's something beautiful in it, but it's heavy, right? Continuing to get clarification, center card in today's spread, we have, we've got our star card, and it's in its upright. Which is nice, because if you remember, we got that card yesterday, and the star card was our bottom of the deck, and it was in its reversal, right? Working in that space. Like this is, I want to say, this is the energy that is amplifying and articulating one's own intention, right? And, I see even now that sense or that space of recognizing and identifying and feeling. The best way I can kind of say this is, and I'm going to talk about this across the different frequencies. For masculine and feminine energy, deep within divine union, that space of doing so, right? The energy that says to one another, I see you, even when you cannot see yourself. This is the energy that acts towards one another and helps build into that sense of and what are those energies doing? They're saying, trust yourself. Trust your own internal navigation. Trust, let your intention guide you forward, right? Because even here, these are the energies that say that the reason that they appreciate one another is not because they look towards themselves and say that they're energetically perfect. No, this is the energy that says that your thoughtfulness, your compassion, your concern, constantly weighing, right? Doing that weight in relationality to what is the ego, right? Like what is the egoic self versus what is the higher self. This is the energy that says to each other, you're hard on yourself because you are your finest point of self. The reason that you're hard is because you've turned, like, you're hard on yourself because you don't take yourself lightly. You don't take the things you do lightly. And so that's the energy that says to one another that in that space of holding each other, holding on, like being hard on oneself, this is the energy that says, I want you to take yourself lightly because that is how you can know that your intentions are pure, right? While for masculine and feminine energy coming into divine union, this is a lot of the energy that's clarifying and articulating that. And I see even now that these are energies that if they were experiencing turbulence in coming into union, this is the energy that either articulates to someone and says, I need to clarify. Like this is either the energy saying we're not bringing something into a deeper state to fix it. We're celebrating the fact that we fixed it by moving it into a deeper state, right? While for a lot of this energy right now, or these are modalities of saying that that desire to move into partnership isn't done to like navigate the impact it's having outside of partnership. It's being done because what is within the partnership is sacred. So we see even now like there's a little bit of this work that's happening right now in clarifying as energy is moving deep into divine union, the sacredness of those bonds. And so that's, again, it's painful because when something is sacred and it's harming another, we say to them, I'm sorry if that hurt you, but recognize it wasn't the intention of it too. It's sacred. While for a lot of this energy right now in separation, this is the energy that is recognizing the difference between hesitation and trepidation as it relates to building forth in connections. This is how the energy in separation is healing from the past, because this is the energy that recognizes the difference between someone that is not moving towards another because of a state of indifference versus someone saying, I move slowly because I hold things sacredly, right? And so we see even now that for a lot of that energy facilitating forward in that way, like this is the energy that we see even now is building new, beautiful connections via the recognition of not only holding themselves sacredly, but also holding the pathwork of the other as well, even as they come together. Fourth and fifth card in our 5-card spread, we have here, look at this, our 4 of Cups in its reversal, and this should look familiar again. We've got that, and this is that 5 of Pentacles energy. We had it yesterday in the deck, but I need to point out, do you see how it's moving? It's moving out into the sidelines now. You'll remember this card here yesterday was like right down in the middle. Now we've got a little bit over to the side. We like it there because again, a lot of this is how we're dispelling the abandonment wound, right? Now, and this is not to say, I see even now that a lot of those conversations that are occurring right now has to do with the healthy fear versus the unhealthy fear. How can you recognize a healthy fear? A healthy fear is something that you can navigate through. It's got something tangible that you can bring towards it. Right? If you've got a healthy fear on something, it's usually articulated in the fact that you can do something to tangibly alleviate it. Right? The untangible fears, well, those require trust, right? And that's what I see even now that is happening for so much of this energy coming into partnership from separation right now. Because I see even now there's a lot of this work that's happening here. And this is the energy that articulates and says, you know, like that recognition point of saying, I'm moving towards you with intentionality because I put intention in the directionality that I go towards. This is the energy that says that feels like energy moving slowly because they don't want to accidentally move backwards, right? And so I see even now like that sense of concern, like that sense of trepidation, articulating through it instead of reacting to it. These are how bonds of trust are being healed at this time. While for masculine and feminine energy right now that is coming into divine union, I just recognize that for a lot of this energy coming into divine union right now, explaining one's intention has to do with articulating one's direction, right? And I either hear now that there's either energy coming into separation, explaining to someone that the clarification point on partnership is not the fact that they're moving something into a deepened state of commitment in order to fix something. This is the energy saying it's already fixed. That's why we're moving it in that way. While these are modalities where, and again, if someone's articulating their own pain and seeing someone move in the directionality of partnership, this is the energy that, again, is explaining the sacredness of that bond by articulating to another and saying, I'm sorry if that hurt you. Recognize the intentionality was not. Rather, we're moving something forward into partnership because it is energetically sacred. While for masculine and feminine energy right now, deep within divine union, these are just the energies within divine union helping each other with their abandonment wounds. And in those moments, in those circumstances, I do see, I want to stress, it's different right now for masculine and feminine energy, right? For masculine today, I see more of this sense of, it almost feels like distraction. It almost feels like, engaging and putting oneself in a space of positivity, even in the wake of uncertainty. Like there's a lot of the masculine energy right now, like coming into those modalities of enjoyment or working into that space. For feminine, it feels more focused today. For feminine, I see the feminine more in a state of like quiet contemplation. And in that way though, I do see that both masculine and feminine are very much like working through and giving each other space in the process, because there's something like, remember we were having that conversation about the fact that being in counterpart connection doesn't require you to be like doing the same exact things at every moment, but just appreciating where someone is, like that's how we love one another. We don't say like, I feel like doing, like, I feel like more in a fun, like I feel like healing my inner child. Like I see masculine healing their inner child wounds today. And I see feminine like healing, doing more spiritual healing today. So I see even now, like there's a lot of that energy. It's like, if you're in that space and that one, like you don't like force one another to like be in that modality. You just kind of vibe out on it. Continuing to get clarification between our Page of Cups and its upright in combination with our Six of Pentacles in its reversal. One card to clarify, please. Clarification coming through right now with our Seven of Pentacles. I'm going to say it again. Don't let yourself get frustrated today. The only thing I'm feeling like I see here that like may be difficult is particularly with like the Six of Pentacles and the Seven of Pentacles here. It's like the retrograde's like messing with people's perception of time to a certain extent. Like it feels like a lot and then a little, like a lot and a little, like it's a lot of that kind of thing that I'm seeing to a certain extent here. But like, that's why, like, don't get overwhelmed if you have a lot to do today. Just be very focused and very intentional, because I see even now, it's interesting because I feel like today masculine may feel like they have like a surfeit of time, like they've got a lot of time, and feminine may feel like they have like not enough, right? So that's just something, and even there, like recognizing that could feel like there could be some issues right now in relationality to timing if you're not in that space of being able to articulate and coordinate effectively. So make sure that you're like double checking plans is what I'm seeing. While for masculine and feminine energy coming into divine union, for a lot of this energy coming into divine union right now, this is more of that sense or that space of, like I told you, like when you're navigating anything that feels like it's turbulence, you don't move in the directionality of the turbulence, right? And that's why we see even now, if there's that point of clarification, if you will, in terms of one's intentionality, having those points and being able to articulate to someone, you know, what that intention is. This is giving clarity as to what feels like it can be healed and continue with energy as they move deeper into divine union, versus something that is coming more from another person's egoic self, right? Because, you know, I keep seeing even there, like that feeling, like I can see the energy coming into divine union, feeling the frustration point and saying, like, well, there's not something that can be done there. Because if something arises in the moment of you moving something into divine union and it wasn't your intention, like I can see the energy kind of like, in a way, like throwing their hands up to a certain extent, like in like, again, in like almost in a state of surrender. But that surrender is the state of saying this to another, like these are not energies giving up on partnership in the process of doing that. This is the energy that says, like, I'm sorry, that wasn't the intention. I'm sorry you're receiving it that way, right? Well, for a lot of this energy and separation, this is beautiful, because this is the energy, like this, I see even now energy and separation, feeling the push-pull of the frustration of wanting to move more quickly towards one another. But because of the space of healing that they're in, the healing almost demands that they move slowly. So I can see the energy and separation almost saying to someone, I don't want you to take it personally. And I can see the energy and separation, like masculine and feminine, saying, no, like the energy that does not take it personally is the energy that gets it. They're the energy that's on the healing path. They're like, no, I understand. Like we will move as slowly as possible. And almost in the moment of saying we'll move slowly as possible, this is the energy that like feels they can start to speed back up. Continuing to get clarification between our six of pentacles in its reversal and our star card. Can I get one card to clarify, please? Clarification coming through right now. This is beautiful. We've got here the star and the Empress out today. Just absolutely lovely. And so, you know, this is very intriguing in and this is really important, because you will remember that yesterday we saw a lot of energy deep within divine union airing grievances to one another, right? That's the best way I can articulate it. Why was the energy airing grievances towards one another? Because the experience of feminine and masculine recognizing that the reason that their ability to perceive things is different is because when they move in the same way, it elicits different reactions, right? That was where we saw so much of that, like that justice in its reverse card energy yesterday arriving, that feeling of unfairness, right? The fact that something that feminine does that masculine could do, but feminine not being able to move in the same way that masculine does because it's perceived differently. That was a lot of that feminine energy feeling the frustration, and masculine holding space for it, because recognizing and identifying it, it's like they also navigate that hurt. So we see even now, this is a lot of that feminine energy. Like I feel like the freeing there of the feminine is saying, well, if everything I do, right? And this is what we recognize, and this is what we also talk about. So we have to, like, this is a lesson on surrender that's coming through today, right? Because this is what the surrender means, right? This is the feminine that says to themselves to a certain extent, well, if anything I do effectively causes harm, right? If that's the feminine saying that modality of expectation is such that it constantly feels that in some way, shape, or form, the feminine is letting someone else down. How is the feminine healing? This is the feminine that doesn't hold the weight of that. This is the feminine that looks up instead of down, because in the looking up, the feminine says, well, that means I can do anything, right? This is how a lot of the feminine energy is healing from that at this time. This is the feminine saying, if everything I do is never right. Are you going to wear that like a lodestone? Or do you take it off and go, well, that means I can do anything? Right? Like there's a lot of that, there's a lot of that feminine energy that's kind of moving forward in that way. And I mean this in a like in a positive way, because I see, like, look at this. This is feminine saying I can be the person that I aspire and desire to be. And as long as my intentions, as long as my intentions are pure, how others perceive that, that is up to them. So what's beautiful here is there's a lot of the feminine energy that is healing, not from the expectations of the self. This isn't the feminine going, I can do anything. Ah. No, it's not like that. It's not like that. You get it? It's a feminine going, I'm freeing myself from the concern over what others perceive from me, right? That is how the feminine is, that is how the feminine is like, freeing their wings to a certain extent. Right, that's the feminine saying I can do it. That space, that's the space of the feminine saying I have to recognize that in the being of myself there are those that will always find fault in that, and that's okay, right? And this is a lot of the masculine that's healing their inner child, right, today, by saying, when I move in that modality of choice of what feels best for me, I'm going to disappoint energy, right? But this is a lot of the masculine energy that says that modality of being open and expressive on their emotions, if the emotions move something away from them, then those are, again, as long as the masculine is communicating. That doesn't mean the masculine's like, I can say anything. No, this is the masculine that says, I can be my authentic self. And if something about being my authentic self moves someone further away from me, then that is evidence. That is the healthy emotion that is protecting me. Those are the emotions of the higher self that are acting as protection for those things that are not for me. So I see even now there's a lot of healing that's occurring in these modalities. And that's happening across all of the frequencies. Now, continuing to get clarification between our star card in its upright in combination with our Four of Cups in its reversal. One card to clarify, please. Our Two of Wands. So a lot of communication today is what I'm seeing. Interesting, given the fact that we've got this retrograde period. But I told you there's a lot of this work that's happening right now with this retrograde in overcoming obstacles. So I feel like even now I see a lot of energy finding the way, finding the words to articulate upon something that they may have been ruminating over during this retrograde period. There's just a lot of that modality or a lot of that ability to communicate right now. There's a lot of it says to me, today is actually a day of a lot of clarity in terms of thought, if you will. Now, and I see, and that has more to do, this has to do with the same message we were seeing with the energy deep within divine union, saying, I clearly see you, right? That's the gift of that's happening there. Now, for the energy coming into divine union, that same clarity of intention, being able to articulate to another what one's intentions are, and recognizing and identifying that if this is the energy that feels like they're navigating that turbulence as they come into divine union, this is the energy that's clarifying that by saying, rest assured that articulation was not to create something outside of partnership. It was to articulate what was occurring, because what feels like it's happening within partnership is sacred. While for masculine and feminine energy right now, in separation, I just see a lot of this energy in separation, they're saying the wound, the cords of trust are slowly fixed, right? And they're fixed via the consistency. And why is this energy moving slower than they typically would desire towards one another? Because when you're building consistency with someone, the one viable factor that you have to accord for is time. So these are energies that are giving each other the gift of time. Continuing to get clarification between our Four of Cups in its reversal in combination with our Five of Pentacles in its upright. One card to clarify. Ah, I love it. Ace of Wands in its upright. So this is beautiful here. I see a lot of beautiful energy today. And a lot of that, it feels today feels very intentional, is what I'm seeing, you know? And a beautiful, like a beautiful day as it relates to communication. Because I have to say, like, these two cards in combination, right? The Five of Pentacles in combination with the Ace of Wands. This is the energy that does not react to abandonment wounds, right? It's exactly what we were saying. They're articulating through them. The fear that is expressed and communicated allows for the ability to heal. So we see even now that these are energies that are working to overcome those hurdles as it relates to fear and anxiety via either, moving forward in that way or articulating through it. So this is very positive for us to see right now in relationality to the work happening across all of the frequencies. And I have to say, like, this might be the best communication day out of all the days we have right now in the retrograde. It's like a little bit of a cloud break. Like, whoop, there you go. Continuing to get clarification on these cards between our Seven of Pentacles in its reversal in combination with our Empress card in its upright. One card to clarify, please. Clarification coming through right now with our World card in its reversal. I see even now, there's so much, like so much of what we're observing here has to do with, I want to say, like navigating uncertainty, if you will. Facilitating, working through those challenges. It's not easy. Like I even recognize it here that there's so much of this energy right now that's facilitating forward in that fashion. And being able to, I want to say, find the words to clarify how one is feeling. It feels like a challenge. But this is also what we're recognizing is allowing for a lot of that feeling of restoration at this time, at the same time, because what we're basically seeing here is this is not the energy that is overly internalizing any of that external chaos, right? There's a lot of clarity that I see that is happening right now in the difference between feeling like one is a part of the energetic chaos versus feeling that one is apart from the energetic chaos. And so even here, we're recognizing that being able to, like, this is the work that we were talking about with the retrograde, overcoming those obstacles. It's not necessarily easy, but I will reaffirm that the first step in overcoming an obstacle is identifying it. So I think that there's a lot of the work that we're seeing today, it has to do with recognizing and identifying what that hurdle is. So I'm going to say it again, don't get frustrated right now if you're experiencing that. Just let it build upon your own sense of focus. And I see even now, like, this is also a lot of energy that's not overly focusing on things right now that feel like they create chaos. Like I see even now, like this is the energy that is putting their intentionality into places that feel useful, that feel helpful, that feel practical, that feel tangible, right? And some of that sorting as to like where to put one's own attention right now, it's building into that space of intention. And that's not always easy. But I have to say that the gift, the gift that the counterparts are giving each other right now is the affirmation of saying to one another and saying, listen, if it's hard, it's not because you're doing something badly. It's because the terrain is difficult. You know what I mean? Like, this is like a bit of the energy that like supports one another in that way by reaffirming again, what is within one's own ability to change versus what is just the environment, right? While for masculine and feminine energy that is coming into divine union right now, this is more the energy getting a sense of the territory that they can expect as they move deeper into partnership. And sometimes that's not necessarily easy. We're just seeing this here. You know, I can see that a lot of the energy right now coming into divine union is healing from those modalities of saying, like, you know, they brought something forth as I was coming into union. I felt bad that they articulated it, but it doesn't change my intention. And a lot of that energy just moving deeper into divine union in the process, because this is the articulation of the fact that when we're committed to each other, when we're truly committed to one another, we don't do it for effect. We do it because we're being affected, right? That is the energy saying to one another, this is where my intention is, right? While for a lot of this energy in separation right now, this is the energy that's almost like, I want to say, like, this is what's kind of cathartic about it. I see energy in separation saying to one another, I'm sorry I didn't meet you before I was wounded, right? Like, I'm sorry I didn't meet you before I experienced these wounds. And this is the energy that says, but, and here we go. This is the energy also saying, but if it weren't for those wounds, I probably would not be meeting you here, right? I did not expect to be here, but I'm glad to have found myself here. Continuing to get clarification between our Empress card in combination with our Two of Wands in its upright. One card to clarify. Clarification coming through right now with our Ace of Swords. So, like, again, this is a really there's a really beautiful lesson that's coming through right now as it relates to the sacred quality of surrender. But you have to understand, and I need to stress this right now. When we say this is not, you understand what we're saying here, that this is not the form, like, hold on a minute. This is not the form of surrender that we speak towards. It says giving up. Do you understand that? This is the energetic surrender that we talk about. When we move with intention, we let go of the outcome, right? When we move with intention, we have to let go of the outcome. And that is how we see so much of this energy right now that is healing across all of the frequencies. For the energy in separation right now, that is why it feels so chaotic, because this is the energy feeling within the self and going, I'm about to trust again. That trust, the thing that got me hurt the first time, like, I can see the energy going, trust that guy, that thing that got me hurt the first time. And this is the energy that goes, yes, because it wasn't the trust that hurt you. It was working through those lessons, right? It was the recognition that sometimes we change what we do because we recognize that there's something within us that needed to change. And sometimes we do the things that we do again so that the universe has the opportunity to say to us, now I'm going to show you what that would have been like with someone that cared. Now I'm going to show you what would have happened with someone whose intentions were pure. Now I'm going to show you that what you did was not wrong, that trusting was not wrong, that sometimes we put that in the wrong places. So that ability of doing so, I see even now, this is how those wounds of trust are being healed. Carefully, sacredly, tentatively, but one step at a time. While for masculine and feminine energy right now, that is coming into divine union, this is a lot of that feeling that, again, that reaffirms and says that when we move deeper into divine union, we have to be energetically, like, this is the energy that recognizes, and I can see the energy being like, I was not prepared for this, right? I was not expecting this. I was not anticipating this. So that ability of identifying and recognizing what that work is, we see even now that this is the energetic equivalent of the energy that says, recognizing like what the manifestation goal is versus how it feels to be in it. This is the energy that says, I didn't expect it to feel so vulnerable, but also so healing, because this is the energy that facilitates forward in such a way that they're feeling the amplification and observation in what is changing around them in the process. And some of it feels cathartic and some of it feels a little sad, because I see even now that there may be some energy that is drifting away as they move deeper into divine union. And this is a lot of that energy that says, like, it doesn't change their modality or direction, but it's just the observation of it. For a lot of the energy right now, deep within divine union, this is that work in terms of recognizing and identifying. And I see even now, if this is the energy that is hard on themselves, this is the energy that holds each other sacredly by saying, the reason I care about you is because you're hard on yourself, because you worry, because you doubt. You don't just move forward with blind faith that everything will turn out okay. You worry about those things. And so this is the energy that reaffirms to one another and says, you're hard on yourself because you care. And it's in the irony of saying to one another, I wish you weren't so hard on yourself, while simultaneously knowing that that isn't going to change. Continuing to get clarification between our Two of Wands in its upright and our Ace of Wands in its upright. One card to clarify, please. Clarification coming through right now with our Five of Wands in its reversal. So there's a lot of peace, right? There's a lot of peace moving forward in that way. Because there's a lot of energy right now making peace with things. And that ability of making peace with things is what is allowing for, like, I want to say, like, that's where some of these breakthroughs are happening, right? This isn't energy that is agonizing on things that they cannot change, right? That's why we talk and we say, give me the grace to recognize what is within my power to change versus what is outside of myself to accept. Because that ability of doing so is the recognition of saying, give me the sense to understand what I can make peace towards versus what I have to make peace with. And in doing that, we find peace everywhere we look, right? Because we're either creating it or we're accepting it. Continuing to get clarification between our World card in its reversal in combination with our Ace of Swords in its reversal. One card to clarify. Clarification coming through right now with our 10 of Wands in its upright. So we see even here that for a lot of this, like there's a lot of cycles that are completing right now during this retrograde. And even now, I want to say even now, this is very profound for the energy and separation, because closure comes in many ways. And so much of this closure that we see now, I see right now, like closure can sometimes be a very quiet door. And even now, in these steps that energy and separation is making right now in those new connections, these are the energies that are working to heal, taking it one step at a time. And every moment that they move towards one another and they reaffirm and rebuild those bonds of trust, they move further away from the thing that created the wound in the first place, right? This is a lot of the energy in separation saying, I'm going to let the past refine me, not define me. That anything that hurt me was not the rule, it was the exception. I'm not going to let myself become bitter. I'm going to move towards what's better. And so we see even now, like a lot of that work, it's tentative and it's slow, but it's happening nonetheless. While for masculine and feminine energy coming into divine union right now, I see even now, this is the energy that's recognizing and feeling that sense of the deepening of the connection, not only in what they feel between themselves, but recognizing and seeing how others are carrying that weight as well. And sometimes when you move deeper into connection, it can be surprising to see the impact that weight it has on energy outside of the connection. But this isn't energy that is changing their direction in the observation of how that weight is being carried. This is the energy that's just observant of it. While for masculine and feminine energy right now, that is deep within divine union, this is the energy that says to each other, I love you because you carry things with care. I love you because you carry things and you recognize that they're heavy, and I want to do that. I want to give you that gift of helping you with that burden, right? This is the energy that recognizes and identifies what that weight is, and they give each other the gift of saying to one another, you don't have to carry that alone. I'm here to help you with it in any way that I can, right? That is the love, that is the act of service. Continuing to get clarification between our Ace of Swords and its reversal in combination with our Five of Wands and its reversal. One card to clarify, please. Clarification coming through right now with our Page of Swords in its reversal. So, there's a lot of this easement right now. And I want to say, this is not, I mean, again, I need to stress this. When I say, I have to say this over and over again. When I'm saying surrender here, I don't mean give up. You understand? You understand? I'm speaking specifically towards the act of recognizing, what feels like it is worth, what you put your energy and control point into, right? Versus what you're kind of what you're facilitating and recognizing and standing away from, right? And so even here, this has a lot to do with that continuing of conversation for energy deep within divine union. Masculine and feminine is navigating that in different ways, right? For feminine energy, it has a lot to do with the perception of the self. This is the same that we saw of the feminine that articulates and says, if everyone has an expectation of me, and if everyone is disappointed when I do not match or meet the expectation that they desire from me, there's a lot of the feminine that goes, then I am free, right? That's not that's the feminine that doesn't put their head down and say, I guess I'm not good enough. This is the feminine that says, I am free, because the observation that I cannot please anyone means I can move towards my highest self, because that's going to happen regardless, right? This is the energy that goes, as long as the intention is there, it's going to happen regardless, right? It's always happening. So that's the energy of the feminine that works through that. And the surrendering that we see is occurring for the feminine is surrendering the concern over the expectation of those outside the self. A lot of that deeper inner child healing, right? While for masculine right now, a lot of the masculine is in that modality of saying, if I authentically communicate my emotions, if I let my inner child, my healed inner child, not the angry ego emotions, the emotions that speak from the higher self, if my emotions move someone away from me, that is not rejection. That is spiritual protection. That is the higher emotions of the self that protect me from anyone that is not for me, because in the articulation of the higher self that holds towards the emotions of what I care about, which is integral, if someone moves farther away from me in that expression of it, well, that's clarifying. That's protective. That's the energy surrendering the need to feel that they need to be agreeable, and more trying to come into that space of being authentic. And this is happening across all of the frequencies. That's the overarching method that we're seeing that is happening as it relates to the amplification of surrender, right? Final card for today's spread between our 10 of Wands in its upright in combination with our Page of Swords in its reversal. One card to clarify. Clarification coming through right now with our Sun card, and it's in its upright. So we love, I have to say, this is a good read for given the cards we saw. We had some rough days the last few days. We had some rough reads, I got to be honest. Ever since, listen, that Mars went into retrograde and was like the 1-2 punch. But now I see a little bit of that clarity that's forming. Right? A little bit of that easement, if you will. It's not necessarily easy by far. There's still a lot of heavy cards here. We still got the 5 of Pentacles here. We've still got the 10 of Wands. But, one of the things, and this is the gift, this is the gift, right? This is the gift that we often understand. when things are difficult and we're moving with intention, it doesn't move us off of our intention. Often, it refocuses our efforts, right? I don't see a lot of energy right now giving up, right? They're getting more focused. They're getting more determinative. They're recognizing where it feels that work is going to be able to reach its point of like resolution, right? And so I see even now, like this is the energy that says I can work harder towards it because I'm finding those solutions. I'm seeing that like light. I'm recognizing what that is. I can identify what that breakthrough point is. So, and we see even now, like again, what is the gift of recognizing an obstacle? The first step in overcoming an obstacle is recognizing that it is there. So I see even now, like this is the energy that says, okay, I just need to climb up that hill. Right? Like there it is. I just need to get up it. And I know that if you do that work, you know what's on the other side of it, right? And so even now, if there's any of that energy that is feeling overwhelmed, it's kind of the same message that's been coming through like the last few days. How do you eat a whale? You eat a whale the same exact way you eat a mouse. One bite at a time. It's the same work. You just got it right. And so I see even now, like there's a lot of that energy that's getting very focused and committed in relationality to that path work and planning. Now, for masculine and feminine energy right now, that work is building back trust. Right? This is the energy that feels like that hill that they have to overcome is healing the bonds of trust. And this is the energy that takes one tentative step towards each other in the process and says, we can't know. We can't ever know for certainty. There's no way, I'm sorry to tell you, there's no way to know if you can trust someone. We learn to trust via the ability to recognize consistency. Consistency creates trust. Consistency is that modality of recognizing and identifying and saying that pledge is, this is what you can expect from me. And tomorrow, and tomorrow, and tomorrow, and tomorrow, and tomorrow. That is all that trust is. So we see even now that this is the energy that is allowing for that slowing, because this is the energy saying, I'm not just moving towards you out of my desire. I'm not just moving towards you carelessly. I'm moving towards you with intentionality and slowly, and building back trust in the process. While for masculine and feminine energy right now that is coming into divine union, this is the energy that is building forward with one another in the midst of feeling the heaviness in terms of how others are carrying that energetic burden. But is this the energy that's changing course? No. This is the energy that says, if it's heavy, it's because it's sacred. Anything sacred is heavy, right? And so we see even now, this is the energy that articulates and says to a certain extent, it's also the lightest thing in the world, because this is the energy that says effectively, I'm sorry if the directionality of moving towards this creates something that doesn't feel like it's positive for another. But this is the energy that also says, recognize that is not the intentionality. That movement forward is because of the feeling that something is energetically sacred. While for masculine and feminine energy right now, deep within divine union, a lot of this work that we're seeing right now is saying to one another, you carry things heavy because you care. You're hard on yourself because you worry. You don't externalize. You don't blame the problems outside. You work in terms of recognizing if there's something within the self that you can change, right? This is a perpetual motion of articulating and looking at circumstances and saying to oneself, is there something that I could be doing differently? Or is this the way it is? And so this is the energy that continually moves in that way. And via doing so, they say, I see you because you move in a way that is sacred. And that is the energy that says, I hold you sacred, so take care of yourself as you continue forward in that way, right? And so this is the energy that says, and that burden is shared within the union. This is the energy that says, you're not doing it alone. I'm carrying it with you. Bottom of the deck on this reading, 3 of Cups in its upright. This has a lot to do right now with navigating expectations, right? This has a lot to do. I can see it even now. There's a lot of energy right now across the frequencies, working into that space of feeling the frustration in terms of how to navigate lots and lots of others' expectations. And that's a lot of that message that we see to a certain extreme. It's an impossible feat, right? You cannot energetically please everyone all of the time, right? So working through that to a certain degree, this is the energy that is making peace with that, right? They're making peace that even when you're focused on harmony, there's going to be someone that doesn't see it as such, right? Like even when you're doing everything you can to navigate others' expectations, there's always like, then now you're not navigating yours. There's always that difficulty in relationality to what one intends versus how something is energetically received. But that's why, again, don't allow others' perception of you to move you off of your own integrity. Let it just reaffirm your commitment in understanding that energy that moves in alignment with you will get it. You know, and if so, and if not, energy that's in alignment with you, they'll ask those questions. They'll try to understand, right? This is how we heal. We give each other the benefit of the doubt and we move with intention, right? That is our daily collective read for today. I want to thank you guys so much for being here and experiencing it. Just a reminder, if you would like to book a private reading with me, you can book one on my website, graystrega.substack.com. Please keep in mind, if you book a private reading with me, it is a 2-step process. You have to book the reading, you have to pay for the reading. Please make sure you do both if you'd like to have that reading. Also, please, most importantly, please remember that I will never, ever, 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 ever reach out to you for a private reading. I will never DM you. I will never PM you. I will never slide into your inbox and tell you that I have a very important message that only I can deliver. The only way you can book a reading with me is if you book one on my website. So I encourage you to do it there. Also, a couple of updates before we move into personal readings today. First and foremost, thank you to everyone who attended our recent class on the Chariot. Our next class will be held on Wednesday, December 18th at 6 p.m. PST, 9 p.m. Eastern. We will be continuing our studies into the tarot with a focus on the Strength card. If you would like to become a part of that tarot class program, all you need to do is head over to my Substack, graystrega.substack.com. Your paid subscription to my Substack is your ticket of entry into our live classes. You'll also have access to the full library of tarot church classes that we previously learned with your subscription. So that's over 8 hours worth of coursework that is included in your subscription. Now, it's not necessary for you to catch up for the class. I will be giving a recap in each and every class, but the material is there when you are ready to receive it. You'll also have access to a one-on-one chat with me and the other students to ask any questions that you may have in relation to anything that we've studied thus far or are currently learning. And if you become a founding member to my Substack, not only will you receive a discount on the full year's worth of classes, you will also receive a complimentary one-on-one mentorship class with me, wherein I will assess where you are on your own personal tarot journey and give you the best insights in terms of how to utilize those classes to the best of your advantage going forward. One of the things I tried to do in these classes was make them accessible to the absolute novice tarot reader as well as the seasoned reader. There's definitely something there for everyone, regardless of level. So I look forward to potentially seeing you there. And also, if you are a subscriber to my TikTok, please be sure to head over to our subscriber-only Discord channel, because there you will find a very special coupon code that will give you an additional discount on that Substack subscription. But even if you don't become a paid subscriber to my Substack, I would encourage you to follow me there to stay up to date on any new offerings, services. I post my weekly newsletter there, which will let you know about my in-person events as well as my online live schedule. You'll also be notified as to my giveaway information. And speaking of giveaways, we have announced the winner of our November giveaway. If you would like to find out who the winner was, just head over to my newsletter. You'll find it over on my Substack. Congratulations to the individual who won. Finally, I want to let you know that on top of my standard life path readings, I also offer mentorship classes. These are for those clients that are seeking a more personalized educational experience with me. I take a very limited number of students for this reason. Those classes can be purchased on an individual level or as a monthly class series. That is 4 45-minute classes, weekly or bi-weekly as your schedule permits. Also, for my clients that are seeking more consistent weekly tarot support, I am very happy to offer weekly tarot insight packages. That is a package of 4 30-minute readings, weekly or bi-weekly as your schedule permits, so that you can stay more consistent on your personal journey. I want to thank you guys so much for being here today and sharing in these messages, and we will do this again